Yeah, we're running.
Holidays.
Can I ask you, was there a lot of laughs in your house when you were a kid?
Yes, there was. I suppose it was... My mother was a Catholic, an Irish Catholic, so a lot of it... Our humour was crude, basically. And that's what makes me laugh. Bottoms make me laugh. I'm sorry, but, you know, lavatorial humour, I love it. And it comes out of that and being educated by nuns. I mean, it's just... I'm presuming is that a reaction to that and that your body's a little bit, you know, unsavoury in some way. So getting over it was the humour of the house.
And was your dad funny then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he had a rather black sense of humour. Sort of, you know, proper Birmingham sort of... I can't think of any jokes. He died such a long time ago. But, yeah, it was very sort of down kind of, you know, that kind of humour and sort of black and rather... Yeah, that was Dad. But my mother was more like me.
So it was safe for you to be funny inside your house, definitely?
Oh,
then?
yeah, yes, yeah.
And did you perform for your brothers ever, or for your mum?
Yeah, for my family, yes, I did impersonations. It was that sort of thing, impersonations of the nuns, impersonations of the other members of the family outside our little house, and people at school, and they liked all that sort of thing, you know, teachers and head teachers. Oh, do that one, do the other, you know.
So you would be that you'd get approval for all of that.
Oh
then,
yes,
yeah.
It was the only thing any of them ever said in my life growing up was she should go on the stage. The nuns were the first people to say she should go on the stage in between thrashings. That's what they said. and my brother, mainly my older brother, he really encouraged me. Said, you know, you should go on the stage. And, you know.
And did you hear that? Did you think, oh, maybe I will then?
Yeah, I did. I used to watch plays and kitchen sink dramas, you know, in the 60s and think I could do that. I could do that. I know I could do it. Yeah. And
were you attracted to comedy when you were growing up? Did you watch comedy on telly?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was mainly, I think it was probably mainly American comedy. Like I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
And the Bilko. And I loved. And, what's the name? The Steptoe Son. That kind of. I absolutely adore. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think when really little. It really little was Laurel and Hardy and all of that sort of stuff. And cartoons like Tom and Jerry, you know, absolutely loved them.
And did you listen to the radio at all?
Yeah, Round the Horn on Sundays.
Yeah.
And, what was the other one on a Sunday? Beyond Our Ken. All of those with Kenneth Williams. And...
Did you listen to Jimmy Clitheroe ever?
Yes, little Jimmy Clitheroe. I know.
And the Navy Lark, did you?
The Navy Lark. These were all Sundays, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
When
you're having your lunch.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it.
Yes.
Sitting around lunch with the radio on.
That's it.
So not talking to each other at all, just eating and laughing and eating and laughing.
Exactly.
And I've gone on to eat and laugh from then till now.
Too. Oh, lovely. Well, that's quite right. It's sort of beat communicating anyway.
Yeah,
really,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Your personality as a kid, do you think you're the same personality now?
Yeah, I think, you know, certain things you grow out of, don't you? I'm not as frightened. I was a frightened kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And that's why I loved people like Norman Wisdom, that was someone else, because he was kind of frightened of everything, you know, and I loved that, and him sort of having to try and please people. And it's obviously about what I was as a child, trying to please and being scared that I didn't, and, you know, and, what did you ask me?
Are you Norman Wisdom? That's what I asked you.
Am I? That's right. Yes.
You got the same sort of personality is what I'm saying. Can you trace back to when you were a kid and think, yeah, I can see how that's become who I am now?
Yes, I can. Yes, absolutely. I don't feel like there's been any great change. There's been gradual changes. As I say, I'm not as scared of the world or of other people as I was. And then I felt that the way to get love and affection and approval and to be somebody was to make them laugh. So laughter I found it was a great tool and a great protector.
Did you think it was attractive when you got older, when you were a teenager, for instance? Did you think boys might like you because you're funny?
I think it helped me to avoid whether they did or not, somewhere. You know, I think it helped me because they found me funny, and it gave me a place in the group. It gave me. I think some boys did. Yes, I think that's true. I think I knew it would attract certain. I'm having a hot flush now at the thought of it. Yeah, I think it did. I'm blushing. I think I did use it to attract people, and that has carried on ever since. Yeah, that hasn't changed really.
I think a lot of women that we've spoken to have said that they had to be careful to temper how funny they were around boys who might feel a bit like they're in charge of the jokes and the girls aren't quite so.
Well, no, I didn't do that. I thought those kind of boys I wouldn't want to be with anyway.
Good for
You know what I mean? Yeah. It was boys who were a good audience. I needed that. So if they weren't a good audience, then anybody else.
Anybody else, exactly. And you got
Yes.
brothers, so presumably you had
Yes.
somebody to measure up to.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, exactly.
That's all good so far.
Good, good.
Yeah, very good. Well done.
Just wiping the sweat off my moustache.
Excellent.
So, getting the men to be attractive, you see, by saying that.
When you were at secondary school, were you in a gang of girls?
Yes, there was a little group. Generally speaking, whichever year, there was a little group with one very good mate probably going all the way, most of the way through. But yes, a bit of a group, and it was a girls' school.
Ah, okay. So was there still nuns then in the secondary school?
No, this was an ordinary state grammar school.
Okay.
It wasn't a Catholic.
And were you the funniest girl in the group, would you say? I mean, that's hard to answer, I know, but...
I certainly was one of them. There were a couple who were funny, but I suppose I was funny in a different way. You find your own little role, don't you? And I used to shout out in class and do all that sort of stuff, but I made sure that I would shout out in a way that the teachers would find attractive. Do you see, attractive again? and and not hate me.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't like some people would, you know, like to really wind the teachers up, but the teacher absolutely loathed them. I wouldn't do that.
So you're keeping everyone on side. Skilled. Very skilled.
A little sad, but skilled.
It's not at all sad. I think that's very skilled. Did any of the teachers nurture your talent? I mean, did any of them notice that you were funny? Any of them notice that you possibly acting was the thing for you?
No, not since primary school. This awful nun, Sister Patrick, who was absolutely terrifying. She was really tall. She beat the hell out of people. I was absolutely terrified of her. She was the one. We used to do these in between lessons. She'd suddenly say, "Right, we're having mime." So each person had to go up and do a mime. Well, I loved these days. Well, I can't remember what I did, but I remember doing sort of gossiping women. I'm thinking it was absolutely brilliant.
Nothing's changed.
No,
Yes.
you see. And she said, "You should go on the stage." And I thought, God, you know, it was the only compliment I ever got. And I think that I'll never forget that. But no, after I was much happier at grammar school with sort of ordinary people and normal teachers, you know, and kids who lived around where I lived instead of going to a Catholic school in the middle of town and everything. And so, but no, nobody encouraged that.
So what point did you think that this might be a possible career for you to perform?
Once I'd got into nursing.
Okay. You were a nurse?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was because I was expelled from my school. That sounds a bit dramatic, but I was in the sixth form, and the deputy head came to me and said, "I want you to give this to your parents. You're not coming back next year." So it was that kind of expelling. It wasn't a proper expelling. I thought, I can't give this to my mother. She will go mad. So I put it in a dustbin and went home and told her I'd reached a momentous decision. I was going to be a nurse because I'd been accepted. I had gone to loads of interviews for things and trying to find out what I should do. I'd never dared think about the theatre because I'd never been.
Had you not?
I've been once. I've been to the amateur theatre with my mother. And I've been once with the school to see Olivier, actually, in Richard III. Meant nothing. We all let it back, eating sweets and not looking and leaving early, you know. God forbid. Anyway. And I wanted to be an actress. Anyway. So I ended up in nursing, which was I just found terrifying because I was sort of in the wrong place, really. And I loved it from one point of view. It was great for comedy. The errors that I made and things that went wrong, you know. And I've dined out on them ever since, you know, terrible bloody mess-ups. But so I then decided, I can't stay here. I will be here forever. Things were indelibly printed on your laundry bag. And I thought, oh, my God. And then the nursing sister on my first ward had been there since she was 17 and she was 67. I thought, right, no, I can't do this. So I looked up drama in the telephone directory and the British Drama League came up. So I rang up. My mother wanted me to be a nurse, so I didn't want anyone to know. So I rang them up and they said, yes, well, you'll need to go to university, which is a load of old nonsense. I said, well, I've only got four GCEs they were then. They said, oh, well, you won't be able to go then, will you? That was the end of that conversation. So then my boyfriend was at this is going on.
No, I want that. This is great.
All right. So then my boyfriend was at Manchester Polytechnic and he said, look, they do drama up here. Why didn't you apply? So I just gave in my notice and my mother went, I had to get my brothers to stand in between me and her when I told her. She hit the roof. May the great God look to me, she'll be in the gutter before she's 20. I was, but it was fine. And, you know, all of that. And then I went up to Manchester and got in there at Manchester Polytechnic School of Theatre. Do you see?
3 years there?
A 3-year course, and then a postgraduate, except it wasn't a degree, it was a teaching certificate, a post kind of diploma course I did up there as well. And then, so it was 4 years actually altogether. But I loved it. It was heaven. I suddenly
thought, I'm at home. This
Yeah.
is it. Yeah, okay. Oh, thank God you did that.
Yes, that was a very long story. But
No, I'm glad you got that there to where you should have been all along, obviously. But maybe you're supposed to go via that way, maybe.
yeah.
Did you think, do you know, I think I can do comedy? Or was that just always part of who you are?
I think it was always part of, having a joke and a laugh and making people laugh. It was kind of very important somehow. It's what you were saying. You do get love back from people. It's powerful. And it puts things in perspective so much as well. Things that can be overwhelming. Them at the worst of circumstances. Just comedy is wonderful, isn't it? For just making it small. It's, looking through the other end of the telescope. It's just fantastic for that. And so I love it. But I wanted to act. This is what I wanted to do. I never thought I want to be a comedian or anything like that. And then I went to the Everyman Theatre first. And of course it was such a lot of comic stuff that we did then. And that was, maybe I'm exaggerating. The pub shows we did we all wrote her. Matthew Kelly, he was there with me.
Was he?
He was.
Here's him being a proper actor now. Look at him.
Proper, no. He's never off the television. I know, it's great though.
Did you ever think you could do stand-up?
No. I wouldn't know where to start, really. You'd have to write it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Have you never desired to write?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've written sort of daft things like, not daft things, but, like about my pregnancy. I wrote a little book about it, but I've never thought of standing up and telling jokes. I don't know.
Did you go and see people doing that ever? Were you around kind of comedy clubs and stuff? Did you?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, not until I met Vic.
And you met her where?
At the Bush Theatre in 1978.
Okay, so you'd already qualified and everything. It wasn't, didn't meet as students then?
No, yes, we did. She came and auditioned at Manchester Polytechnic. And I remember this little girl with glasses throwing up in a bucket. She was so nervous. She didn't get in. I mean, they've never lived it down at Manchester Polytechnic. I've had letters because I've told everybody, the world and his wife, that she didn't get in. So I eventually got a letter off the director of Manchester Polytechnic saying, "Oh, right, we're sorry she didn't get in. Just
stop saying it."
Yes.
Well, how do you know she threw up in a bucket? Were you there?
Yes, I was ushering people through.
Oh.
And, sort of in a leotard, sort of showing off.
I'm already here.
Yes.
I'm already a student. I'm rather clever.
Yes, you're not yet. You might not get in, any of you. You might not be good enough like me. And it was like that. And then I met at 1978 at the Bush when we did this thing called In at the Death, which the audience were every night. And she wrote this really funny, like the playlets they were meant to be called. But they were like big sketches. And she wrote a really funny sketch, and I was in it with her, and that's how we met. It was brilliant.
Do you think if you hadn't done the stuff with Vic, do you think you would have sought out the chance to do sketches ever with anybody else?
Oh, I think I would have, yeah, because I loved them, sketches. Yeah, absolutely, I would have, I think. I mean, I did other sort of comedy, like Alan Bennett and Alan Bleasdale and things like that, but not, only Vic have I done the sketches with, and I adore them.
Yeah.
Just love them, those characters.
And will you always do some comedy, do you think? Do you think you'll always seek it out?
Oh, I hope so, yeah. I mean, because, I don't know, it's just a great healing thing. I know that sounds wanky, but
It's not at all wanky, I think that's right. But there are a lot of actresses who regard comedy as a slightly lower form of something.
That's because they can't do it, I think. Yes, I think people, because you can't teach it. It's the one thing you can get people to learn how to cry, But you can't, well, maybe that's not the right example, but a lot of straight actors can't do comedy. All comedians are good actors. I've never seen one be in anything that who isn't a good actor. And there's just something about it, because it's a real understanding, isn't it, of what makes us tick.
I think possibly, you tell me, the comedy work you've done makes people love you so much that they carry the love into the other stuff that you do as well. Do you think that's...
I suppose, yes, I think so. In some ways, I think comedy's far more revealing than sort of tragic roles are. And and there's a sort of... Because there's a kind of acknowledgement somewhere in comedy, isn't there, of human sort of fragility and vulnerability. Yes, I don't know what, but I think it's something about that. I don't know, it's very hard to say.
It is hard. there's something about your career that a lot of these women want to have, frankly.
Right.
So
No,
they're
but you
basically
can't have
saying, could you move on?
Yes, now. You're getting on.
Stop now.
Yeah. Oh.
Especially amongst the younger comedians. They want to be actresses also. Interesting what you said
Yes.
about comedians being able to act.
Yeah,
they don't want anyone to give them a boundary whatsoever.
No, why should there be categories? It's sort of...
Yeah, and it seems only right that you could jump about, in this particular job.
Yes.
Do you seek out the company of funny people? Ever?
Do I seek them out?
Yeah. I don't mean do you go knocking on the doors of Billy Connolly and
No.
people like saying, come out to play with me now. I didn't mean that, but did you ever, especially when you were a bit younger, maybe when you were at Polytechnic, were you drawn to the funny people?
Was I drawn to them? Yes, up to a point. Yes, more so than people with no sense of humour. That's very difficult, isn't it? No, so yeah, definitely drawn to people who make me laugh, and I want to find out what makes them laugh.
And you couldn't be in a big relationship with somebody then who didn't make you laugh?
No, because Grant makes me laugh. I love his sense of humour because it isn't the same as mine. And I love the things that make him laugh. And yes. But I tell you, talking about being attracted to funny people, I did this BBC Two drama called Murder, which was a terribly painful thing about her son being murdered, this woman that I played. And Imelda Staunton played the policewoman in it. Well, I used to wait for the day. Is Imelda in? Wait for her because she's just so funny. She just made me, she was telling me stories about when she was at the RSC. And I used to get in the bath that night and just think about these stories and really laugh, And I was like, thank you, Imelda, thank you. She was
a company of other women that are funny, actually. I was thinking that when you did Calendar Girls.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing you all getting up to get yet another award for that. I'm thinking that looks like that must have been great fun with that group of people.
Because we were all the same age, all flushing together. And yes, it was really good. Who was on HRT? He was working it. And all, it was just really lovely.
How do you go about putting a character together? What's the process do you have a process?
Not really. It comes usually from, sometimes I read a script and think, oh yeah, and you sort of feel it inside. I know who this is, right? Don't know what she's doing in that scene, but I kind of know who this is. And then other times I look at it and think, God, I don't know how to play that. And I often feel like right up until just before, and Grant always says, you always say that. What? I don't know how to play. You always say that. And maybe I do. Maybe it's panic that I'm not going to get it or something. But generally, just good writing sort of throws it up usually.
You don't do this, let's start with the shoes or any of that stuff. You don't have a particular thing you do every time.
No, occasionally I've gone to a great costume designer on something and thinking, I don't know what the costume is, I don't even know who she is. And they'll say, well, I see her in this. I think, oh, right, so that's who she is. Oh, OK.
Just borrow. I'll borrow anything.
Yes.
I was going to ask you a question. I think you've answered it, actually. But do you think it's a proper job being a comedian? Then?
Oh, I think it's a vital job. I think it's, for all the reasons, that it's healing, that it helps people put things in perspective. Laughter is known to be a healing thing. And you must know, how people say, thank you for making me laugh.
But I get a bit embarrassed when that happens.
Oh, well, I don't think you should be. It's a great gift. And there's...
But it's a gift, that's exactly it. It feels like a gift that it's a bit of a cheek to charge people for. To me, a little bit. I never think that of anyone else. I'm grateful that there are other people there doing it.
You've got to live. You've got to live and work. Like healers, they have to charge. You think, well, you shouldn't charge for this. I'm helping people get better. But whoever it is, doctors have to. Everyone does. I'm not saying that an actor or anybody is a doctor, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It's a strange job.
Oh, yes, and it's hugely stressful, I think, because you're constantly, it's like we were talking about the awards and everything, you're constantly up for judgment. What other job has... My sister-in-law said to me the other day, she's a teacher, so she said they'd had Ofsted. She said, oh, God, you've no idea. I said, what? She said, to have someone watching your every move and then write about you. I said, hello? And she went, oh, yes. And she started to laugh. And I said, that our whole lives are like that, in a sense.
Yeah.
And so, and that's very stressful, and to have no anonymity. Anonymity is a fabulous thing until you lose. You don't realise, do you, until you lose it?
Yeah, that's right. Do you think that you have pressure on you, personally, socially, to be funny? Do you think people think, oh, here comes that she's going to make us laugh? Do you have that?
A bit. And people say, oh, and Grant gets it. They'll bet there you're always laughing in your house. No. We just had a huge row. No. And I suppose, yes, I'm trying to think of occasions, but yes, I think people do. Not in the family, though.
No.
I feel I can take it because they're like yours. I think my family are funny as well.
Yeah, and I think that they're the last people actually that
Yeah.
they want you to keep your feet on the ground and not get a bit
Yes.
carried away with that. I think the weird thing about being funny is that when you start making a living out of it, then you start to analyse it a little bit.
Yes.
Which you probably shouldn't do.
No.
It's because it can disappear very quickly if you don't. But everything is analysing, isn't it? If you're doing a play and you've got to think, how will I get this? Am I serving this joke right? What's the timing here? What is that? Are those the best words to
Yes.
get the laugh in? So the minute you're doing all of that, I think this is where I've got a little bit of a problem of, well, now I'm really doing the technique of comedy rather than the thing that happened at the very beginning, which was just being who I've been as a kid always.
Yes.
And trying to be funny and get laughs,
Yes.
whatever possible way I can. That's what I feel a little bit.
But that's bound to go a bit, though, isn't it? But I think it's replaced. It's because you've got more knowledge. That's all.
Yeah.
Haven't you? It's because you've learnt so much.
Yeah, that's right. And you're allowed to train. It's sort of training on the job, really. It's training
Yes,
on the
it
job.
is. Yeah.
Have you ever felt humiliated by anything you've been asked to do?
Very close to it with the wife of Bath, having to have sex with a very young, rather gorgeous Paul Nicholls. I was very scared about that. And thank God he was such a nice bloke and really good fun, and we could have a laugh about it because, I just felt, I've got to hide stuff. I can't... some people, okay, they don't seem to mind. But I was brought up with the nuns, wasn't it? So I did have massive underwear really big, like surgical underwear that sort of covered everything. I was afraid of stray pubes. I was afraid of this coming out, that, and all of that. Because I'm not that kind of person. I wasn't the kind of person in The Wife of... I'm not the kind of person in a lot of the parts, but her especially, I suppose, because she was sort of easy sexually. And I thought, well, I'm not. I'm sort of slightly embarrassed and, it's got to be a laugh. And so that could have been humiliating.
Have you ever been in a sketch where you thought, oh my God, look at me? Or do you absolutely
No.
relish that chance to...
Look grotesque and things. No, I love looking grotesque and things. I've got no problem with it the other way. In fact, I suppose it's easier in some ways. Yeah. Occasionally, I've just done something where I played an old woman. Well, she wasn't that much older than me, but I suppose. But anyway, she was an oldish actress. And I thought, oh, God, I was fed up of looking at myself with this grey hair and looking ancient and thinking, because I'm getting to that age, I suppose. A little bit. I felt a little bit of that. I loved playing her. She was a fabulous character. I occasionally felt a bit...
I've got a feeling that, certainly for me, as you get a bit older, your skin gets a little bit thinner with what you will allow to yourself to perform, with the stupidity of it all. Having said that, I'm quite happy to show my arse and fall over as long as I ever can.
Yeah.
But there are some moments when I just think, actually, that's undignified. It's suddenly undignified this week, it wasn't last week. And I don't know if... I think that might be an age thing.
I think it is an age thing, but I think it's an age thing because maybe you don't perhaps need to do it anymore as well. Maybe it's a need. When you're younger, you're still proving so much and all of that. And then you do... how much do I need to do this anymore?
That's absolutely right. I think that's absolutely right. I mean, you one of the things you've done, of course, is you've broken a lot of barriers when it comes to playing older women, because you've played a lot of much older women when you were much younger.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I loved that.
So, did you?
I was obsessed with my own grandmother, I think. She lived with us and was completely potty, really. Well, she'd had a couple of strokes. I'm always saying this joke, but my brothers used to say, at the third stroke,
she will be dead.
I think the third one probably did it.
Oh dear.
So she was a bit kind of not with it, and there were terrible things that went on. And so as a small child, she was utterly, completely fascinating. We were stuck with her all day. My mother was at work and things like that, And
did she know that you used her as a bit of a...
No, because she died when I was 10. So that was it. But I think that was it, the fascination with what happens to them physically as well, people's faces, their noses get bigger and the hair and, and she had one yellow tooth in the middle of it, all of that, it was just...
But obviously you had great affection for her, obviously.
Yeah, she was a bit frightening, but yes, somewhere, yeah.
If you had to choose a moment from your own career, comedy moment, What that you enjoyed the most of all, that you've loved and cherished? What would it be?
I think it would have to be Mrs. Overall.
I think so too.
Yeah. Like, there's something about her kind heart and the sort of little frail sort of thing of her. I think it would have to be her. And she's Birmingham and everything, where I'm from. And I loved doing it. It was such a laugh to do.
Well, did Vic come up with that idea and bring it to you, or did you talk about that character first? How did it come
she
back?
wrote Acorn Antiques, and it was just there it was, and there was the cleaner that came in, and I said, it's sort of Amy Turtle-ish, and she said, yeah, that's it. And then because it was also very bad telly, it was meant to be. Then I remember hovering, looking at the monitor and seeing where I could have to put the tray in shot where it shouldn't be and that sort of thing, and then making a round shoulder because I think that's funny. I just think because I'm round-shouldered anyway, it was easier to stand like that. And so it just sort of came about. Yeah. No, there's no. She just wrote it.
You said that you think that comedy is harder than straight acting. Well, why do you think that?
Well, it's harder because it isn't something that is natural in people. And I think so you have your own timing, and it's a kind of reading of audiences. You don't do that with tragedy and with an ordinary straight drama. You don't have to read an audience in order to play a gag. Do you know what I mean? I know you must know that there's so much you think, no, I'm not going to do it like that. This audience simply isn't going to go there. I know what they're going to like. This lot are going to like. And so you have a real dialogue. And I think unless you have it's bad instinct. So it's not something that can be taught. So I think it's harder from that point of view. And the other thing about it is if you're doing a comedy on stage, you know instantly if something hasn't worked. So you have to, because there's no laugh. I mean, how demoralising. They didn't laugh. Right. Do you know what I mean? So you're constantly... So it's much harder from that point of view. You don't know in a tragedy with the people. You can hear them sometimes, but it doesn't matter if they don't do that either.
Immediate response. They're sort of the editors, aren't they, the audience? Yeah. Certainly in TV comedy as well, we use the audience as the editor, which I get so pissed off when people talk about canned laughter. And you think, no, we have definitely done this in front of an audience. And one of the reasons we've done it is because we need the audience to tell us which bits are working and which bits aren't.
Yes.
Have you ever had a moment where you thought, this is a definite laugh, I'm sure of it, and then it hasn't got
and then
laugh?
Nothing, yes. God, they don't... Things... And because Trevor Nunn was telling, because he directed Acorn Antiques, and he was sort of saying, we have to be careful of rehearsal room laughs. Things that we thought were hilarious in rehearsal. No, nothing. Audience didn't get. And other things that are quite little, never got laughs. Huge laughs from the audience. I mean, I know.
Are you a bit of a tart for a laugh?
Oh, yeah, like a tart. Oh, yes, I could be dreadful. Yeah, are you?
Yeah.
What a daft question.
Well, it's like when you said, this audience aren't going to go there. I know what they'll like. I know I've thought that and thought, I know what they like. I give them loads of that.
Yes,
and then you're dishing out 4 little gags in a row, something to do with your arse or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you think, actually, I've forgotten the character now. And I've completely dropped the ball, but I've been a bit of a whore for a laugh here.
And we've all had a laugh, so that's fine.
I'm done. Oh. That's great.
Oh, it was really enjoyable.
Oh, that's great.
He's back, ripping through TV schedules. Charlie Brooker's Screen Wipe is next on BBC4. And later, rebuilding a nation from scratch. The Why Democracy season continues with the Iron Ladies of Liberia at 10.